time for the fun stuff. So, I don't know, probably about a year ago, or maybe not even a year ago, I think maybe around December of 21 to maybe January of 22, I had seen where Seekins had come out with the HIT rifle. And I kind of didn't think too much of it. I figured, you know, it was just another really good offering from them that, you know, PRS shooters and stuff like that would probably jump all over and shoot it in its respective class, until I watched the video where they said it was going to be a switch barrel, and that genuinely caught my attention. I was extremely curious. I started doing a little bit more research on them. I talked to Glenn a little bit about them, and then I found out what sort of price point that they were going to be coming out at, and that got me even more interested. So I did beg him to let me test one. I wanted to give my 2 cents in on it, even though it is primarily it is basically just a short action rifle. I wanted to test it, and I wanted to test it against something that was on the very other far end of the spectrum. It's very well known and very well respected amongst precision shooters in general, and that would be my Accuracy International here. Now, in all fairness, these are not what I would call direct head-to-head competitors. Certainly something that would be more in line with the HIT rifle here would be something like the Accuracy International ATX. But I wanted to see primarily what they were offering and how well it did. I wanted to see how well it could actually perform, and if it actually could keep up with something like this, at least in terms of, you know, the barrel repeatability, taking the barrel off, putting it back on, how repeatable it was, how accurate I could actually make it, and how accurate they were with barrels that were basically the same. So I've got a 6.5 Creedmoor barrel for both of these rifles actually, and they're both the same length and twist rate. So which we've already done the range video, but I haven't posted it yet. That'll actually probably be tied onto the end of this video. So, and I've also worked up hand loads for it, and I can absolutely say, after spending the time with it that I have, and really putting it through its paces, it absolutely rocks. I mean, it's solid. It's absolutely solid. And I was real hesitant, you know, because I don't like being that guy. I don't like saying that something's absolutely terrible. And I knew that I myself would have really, really high expectations, especially shooting things like Accuracy Internationals all the time. So it had a really, really, really hard and stiff competition to try and run with. Pretty much the absolute, what I would consider to be, at least in my experience, the best in the game. And I'm here to tell you, unless you were just wanting to own the ATX, which I totally understand, I get it, you know, I do. I can't think of any reason why you shouldn't get a HIT rifle instead and not spend an arm and a leg. And that's coming from somebody who gets really giddy about Accuracy International rifles. I love mine. I have done some awesome stuff with mine, and I'll continue to do awesome things with mine. But just be aware that this is coming from somebody who is a shooter, you know. So I don't, like I said before in some of my other videos, I could care if this thing was made by Rossi or Harrington and Richardson or something like that, as long as it did exactly what it does. So I'm not too, I don't know, don't get too tied up in the brand or the exclusivity, I guess, of owning the Accuracy International anywhere near as much as I do how well they genuinely perform. And back whenever I got this rifle, there weren't but just a handful of options to choose from, really. It was either them, Barrett, or Desert Tech. And like I said before, well, first off, I'm not a fan of bullpups. I mean, I guess if you really need a short overall package, that's awesome. Then Desert Tech all the way. The MRAD, yes, I know it won the contract. Trust me, I get it, and that's a whole another reason to have one. But for somebody like myself who is what I would consider an avid shooter, basically for me at least, the Accuracy International, it won in all the categories that I was checking off whenever I was looking at buying one. And anyway, so that's why I wound up with the AI. And I have been nothing but 100% pleased with it, and it never ceases to amaze me every time I take it and go shoot. The HIT rifle, it gives me all those same warm and fuzzies without putting a massive dent in the old pocketbook. Now again, like I said, I know and I understand that this is more of a direct competitor with something like your ATX or your AT even from Accuracy International, but we've already taken both of these to the range. We've shot the daylights out of it. The very first HIT rifle I got, which I've got two right now. The very first HIT rifle I had, the barrel had some issues, and I talked back and forth with Glenn about it, and I told him what I thought was the problem. I thought it was definitely a heat treat issue, because the first barrel, the first barrel, it would throw 3 rounds in pretty much the exact same hole every time, like clockwork. It would throw 3 rounds, exact same hole. All of a sudden, the 4th round would drop down probably 2 inches, maybe somewhere around 2 inches. It would drop low, and it did this like clockwork. And then the 5th round, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 5th round would fly. It would come up a little bit in elevation, but would be about 3.5 or so inches to the right. But again, it did it like clockwork. So it's not the first time I've seen a barrel do that, and I had my sneaking suspicions as to what it was. And I talked to Glenn about it. He said, "Hey, let me send you another barrel." And I told him, I said, "Well, you can, but I have something that I wanted to do to the barrel first to see whether or not it actually improved it." So funny enough, I actually took the barrel out. I stuck it over there in my oven at 550 degrees, and I let it sit in there for about 12 hours straight. After it got done doing that, I just shut the oven off and let it sit in there and air cool, or basically cool down inside the oven really slowly and come back down to temperature. As a matter of fact, I didn't even get it out of there until the following day. It was ice cold at that point. Took it back to the range, fired it, and it was still doing about the same thing, but it was about a 300% improvement. So it went from throwing rounds, like going to the 5th round, if you look just at the 5th round, so the 5th round would end up maybe 3/4 of an inch right instead of 3.5. So it would still do the same basic group pattern, but it was in a miniaturized scale. It shrunk it down a whole bunch. And come to find out, we do believe that it was a heat treat issue whenever that particular barrel was made. That being said, Seekins does not actually make these barrels for these rifles in-house. They don't make the blanks themselves. And aside from that, a heat treating issue is something that you can't look at a barrel and go, "Well, that thing ain't heat treated." It's, it'd be like picking this barrel up right here. You could look at it all day long, but you can't tell whether or not there's some sort of a heat treating issue going on inside this barrel, which this barrel is actually perfectly fine. But you couldn't look at it. That's not something that you can visually inspect. So, but to Seekins and both Glenn's defense, like I said, that's not a product that they make in-house. They don't make their own barrels. And he not only sent me another barrel, he sent me a whole other rifle and a whole bunch of other barrels, including something that's still yet to be done by Accuracy International. And thank God Glenn was listening. I got a 223 barrel for the Seekins HIT Pro and the respectful bolt head. So the bolt head, the mag, he also sent a mag for it, which is a 223. It's actually I believe it's a Magpul AICS pattern 223 mag. So now you could shoot the HIT rifle on the cheap, have fun, get a lot of trigger practice in, bust crows and hogs and prairie dogs and coyotes and all kinds of stuff on the cheap with the HIT rifle. And that's something that still to this day Accuracy International has not done. They have never, I think at one point they may have entertained it, but it just kind of got pushed to the side. Which, in retrospect, I mean, I kind of understand that. They cater more towards military forces and stuff like that and what they do. And I guess to that extent, you know, we're like individual owners. They're not too worried about what we've got to say. But, yeah. So, finally, somebody was listening and cared enough to come out with a 223 switch barrel. So this rifle can do obviously 223, 308, 6.5 Creed, more. You could do 7mm 08 in it if you wanted to and have a barrel spun up for it. You could do 243, you could do 6mm Creed, more. Probably 22 250 as well. I don't know how well the case taper would work as far as feeding from the Accuracy International style mags. It might give you a little bit of a headache. But this thing will also do short action magnums. So even though it is a short action, you still could potentially do maybe like a 7mm either Remington short action ultra mag or a 7mm Winchester short mag in this thing. Obviously your 6.5 PRC is going to work in it just fine. So I think personally for a first attempt at a switch barrel, barring price completely, I think the rifle itself is fantastic. The fact that it shoots the way it does, the functionality it has, it works, and it absolutely works hands down. There are some things that I kind of wish that were a little bit different, like there's nothing to stop this cheek rest adjustment from coming around here and hitting on the side of the chassis, whereas like the Accuracy International, it has like a little collar with a button that comes around that actually catches onto that button and hangs onto it and doesn't let the rest of the buttstock, whenever it folds, it doesn't let it slam into the side of the rifle or anything. But that's really small stuff. I mean, we're talking about a rifle that's $2,500 give or take, versus a rifle which at the time I think I paid somewhere around I want to say $800 or $8,500 for the AXMC at the time. And I think their successor has only gone up since then as well, which, funny enough, I actually don't like it as much as I like the AXMC, but that's just me. So, I would definitely say for a first go for a company who's never really offered a switch barrel of any kind, they did a fantastic job. It is absolutely awesome. And I'll go ahead and spill the beans. So with my hand loads, I've managed to get groups from this rifle, which like for my 6mm Creedmoor barrel for my AXMC, I have shot I want to say around a 200,000th inch group on multiple occasions, and 100 with it. I've shot like I said, I've shot plenty of .26, I think, MO8 groups at 3/4 of a mile with just a 6.5 Creedmoor barrel in it. I've shot in this rifle out to a mile with basically a brand new barrel, chambered in 7mm Magnum, and I just threw some hand loads together, and we literally went and shot the next day out at a mile, and I wanted to take it and try it. So aside from basically getting my zero height and offset and getting some real quick chronograph information for this thing, and I absolutely destroyed a 36-inch plate at both a mile and 2,000 yards with this rifle in 7mm Magnum. This little dude, I haven't worked on any other hand loads for it yet other than the 223. But I shot a .178 inch group with it, with the 223 barrel in it, this past weekend when we went and shot it. So you're kind of, I know this, I'm actually recording these videos kind of backwards because we already did the shooting portion of it. And we did test these two rifles with both 6.5 Creedmoor barrels in them, shooting the exact same ammo. And funny enough, neither one of them really liked the ammo. But it's just what I had on hand. I was shooting, I think, it was what I had left. It was it's probably 140 grain, crap, what's that stuff called? It's a 140 grain Hornady black 6.5 Creedmoor ammo. So unfortunately, neither one of them shot any tiny groups for the video itself, but whenever I swapped over and started shooting hand loads for this guy, because I've been itching to try it and see how they did, it shot like I said, a .178 inch 3-shot group at 100 yards. And I guess I can give you a little bit of the load data for what I was using whenever I did that with the 223 conversion kit. So it was Lapua brass, CCI BR4 primers, using CFE 223 powder, the 75 grain Boattail hollow point match, which by the way does have a G7 of 195 because I had to reverse engineer it. Don't ask me why, but I think Applied Ballistics has it at like 1.7 something, but it's not right. So full disclosure on that one. And the overall length, my loaded overall length was 2 inches 340 thousandths, so 2.34, and that was giving us a 15 thousandths of an inch jump. And it is a pretty stout load of CFE 223, but that's only, and I'm not going to give the actual powder charge number, but we were able to get 3,000 feet per second out of it from an 18.5 inch barrel. So it's smoking coming out of there. But anyway, it's awesome. It's an awesome rifle to shoot. It really is. And I definitely can't think of any cons. Like even the, like the minor thing about the it not having something to lock into, or at least a bumper of some sort on the side of the chassis. It doesn't have quite as much cheek adjustment, both up and down. It doesn't have a lateral adjustment, at least not right now. It doesn't have as much up and down adjustment for your buttstock, which I like to run mine high so that I get more in line with the barrel to help reduce muzzle rise or muzzle dip, anything like that. So I try and keep all of that stuff as in line as possible. But I mean, it's really hard. It is really, really hard to find anything worth genuinely bitching about. You could nitpick it maybe all day, but you still have to bear in mind that it is a $2,500 switch barrel, but I'm here to tell you, functionality wise, it's awesome. It's hands down, it is absolutely awesome. Yeah, I can't express how pleased I am that another good American company has come out with something that could genuinely keep up with the Accuracy Internationals of the world in terms of accuracy and adjustability, but do so at an incredibly reduced cost. And like I said, even doing the caliber conversions for this guy, so you're looking at just that. That's really all you have to get. If you want to shoot a Magnum caliber and you only have the standard 308 bolt face, you just need another bolt head. You don't have to go buy a bunch of different bolts or bolt bodies or anything like that. And I think these run about 150 or so a piece, if I remember right, somewhere in that ballpark, versus $700 for a bolt body and $500 for a firing pin, which you can have just a different, like a series of different bolt bodies along with your other firing pins. The other thing I guess that actually is good about the Accuracy International is if you're getting something like light primer strikes, that's pretty much it. You just saw me take the bolt apart and I can clean it up in the field, and if there's any trash or anything inside the actual bolt, what? It ain't time for talking. Go away. If you're getting light primer strikes, you only have to contend with 2 parts. They're super quick and easy to take apart and put back together. That's basically it. It's ready to go. For the Seekins, you have 2 additional parts to contend with, but still, even at that, it's not bad. So you basically have your firing pin assembly for the Seekins. And once that comes out, your cross pin that holds your bolt head in comes out. Then your bolt head comes out, and then you have your bolt body. So you do have 2 more parts to contend with for the Seekins. I really don't see that as a negative because none of these parts are incredibly small or going to go flying anywhere whenever you take them out. But I do see the added benefit of the fact that the bolt heads themselves aren't, well, they're not $700. So that makes it just that much nicer. So, but anyway, there you go. Just like that, that thing's set back up. It's ready to go. Ready to go fire it. Stick it right back in the gun, go shoot it. So you saw me just take both the bolt bodies apart. Neither one of them's hard to do. You don't need tools. And that's another big plus. If you were to look at something like a Desert Tech, for instance, and watch a video on how to take one of those apart, that gives me both chills and nightmares to think about if I ever had to do that while I was out somewhere, if I was, hunting or like on a guided trip or something like that, or even if it was to be used for military use for whatever reason. That would just be, I think personally, a nightmare for somebody to try and take one apart in the field. The Barrett MRAD actually is also going to come apart much in the same way the Seekins does. It will have a cross pin and a bolt head that swaps out on its own individual bolt body and your firing pin assembly and all that stuff. So it's going to be much the same. Whereas I think for your Desert Techs, you're going to have individual bolts, kind of like you do for your AIs, but they're going to be, I think, actually whole bolt assemblies, which is a good thing. So I don't actually know what those run a piece. I have to look that up. I'm sure they're probably not as bad as Accuracy International. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on what I think about the HIT rifle so far. I really, like I said, I can't fault it anywhere. They are 100% fantastic. And as a matter of fact, right now the other rifle is at my gunsmith having a custom Krieger put in it, well, chambered up for it. And that's another good thing, is the fact that Seekins was forward thinking enough to put all their chamber, basically all their chamber dimensions and bolt head stuff on there, or your action dimensions and everything on there for the gunsmith to go reference. It's there, it's open source, so pretty much anybody just about anywhere could make barrels for that thing and basically just deliver them to your house, much like Proof does for the Accuracy International. I've had multiple barrels just show up here to the house. I put them in, I'll check a headspace with go gauge, no go gauge, or a field gauge, make sure that they're fine, and they always have been. But that's a definite plus to having something like that for either of these rifles. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it for now. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to test the Seekins HIT Pro against my Accuracy International AXMC, and we'll see what kind of accuracy we can get from the two of them. I'm going to shoot at the two top dots on either the left hand or the right hand side. The Seekins, we're going to do the, I guess we'll do the ones on the right, or no, I'm sorry, the ones on the left for the Seekins. And then we'll switch over to the right hand side top dot for the Accuracy International AXMC. So we'll see what happens. Alright, that is 5 Seekins. Let's see what the Accuracy International is. It'll be a little bit louder. You got your ears? Yep. I don't have a can on this one. Yep. pretty fair shakedown, I think. Let's see. Got the Accuracy International here. This is my personal rifle. Normally, it does do a little bit better than that. If you go want to grab the Seekins and bring it over here, Cleve, you can. But Seekins also is doing a really fantastic job, especially considering no more than what it costs. I mean, it's really hard to find any complaints at all about the Seekins, irregardless of price point. So, would I give up my Accuracy International to own one? Well, not this one for sure, because of the fact that I can do long action magnums and super magnums, 300 Norma being one of my favorites to shoot out of this guy. This one, on the other hand, it can go down all the way to 223, and that is a huge thing. So it'll shoot everything short action all the way down to 223, and even do your short action magnums as well. So that is that's pretty awesome considering what this thing costs. I would absolutely recommend it to anybody who is looking at getting one. I have no complaints whatsoever, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this guy shooting coyotes, probably crows, stuff like that around the farm. So that's going to be a lot of fun for me. But absolutely, hands down, we have them both set up with the exact same scope mounts. We're using the exact same bipods even. So yeah. It's absolutely a hammer and a lot of fun to shoot. So I don't think anybody could go wrong with either one. But if you're looking to save a few dollars, I would definitely look at the Seekins in terms of performance and price per, I guess you would say, the economy of it. Yes, it is not an Accuracy International. I have done some awesome things with this rifle, and I will continue to do awesome things with it, but you absolutely cannot ignore and down the Seekins in any way, regardless of price. And I think for me that's a big thing, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on in the near future. I can't wait to see what else Seekins comes out with later on. I know that they got a few things in the works, so you might want to keep an eye on them. But that's it for now. I appreciate it.